We did one analysis. What was so fascinating to me was the fact of how often, like the wholesalers were like, well, you'll make more money with this product. It's like, okay, let's look at what is in the best interest of the client. And when we really started breaking it down, there were discrepancies of a person literally earning over $500 less per month from a product. And both of them were A-rated, both of them were very good carriers. One of them paid more commission, one of them didn't. Somebody that has a fiduciary obligation would be required by their fiduciary responsibility to provide you the one where you make the most money, not where they do. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. Today's question comes from Kelly, who shares, I need help with my finances and want to avoid mistakes when hiring a financial advisor. Can you give me some recommendations? This is actually a great question, and it's a great question on a couple fronts. One is to even determine if you need a financial advisor, and secondly, to know the questions and the insight you need to make sure that if you do, you're hiring the right one. So stay tuned. Today's free resource is the Millionaire Insider's Financial Freedom Formula. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/FFG. This resource is literally everything I've learned from multimillionaires about financial freedom. It walks you through a 3-step formula that you need to achieve really any goal, whether it's with money, relationships, or your health. Again, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/FFG. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/94. All materials on intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. The information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement, planning, or healthcare advice. All international copyrights are reserved. So let's dive into 4 tips for hiring a financial advisor. The first thing you got to do is decide if a financial advisor is what you need. Deciding to work with a financial advisor or planner is a major accomplishment, and finding the right one is critical. There are several studies that reflect that most individuals agree that having an advisor is very helpful. In addition, a lot of people don't have one. In fact, a study done by Northwestern Mutual in 2022 found that 62% of adults in the United States admitted that their financial planning needed improvement, and only 35% of Americans actually work with a financial advisor. A study done by Vanguard in 2019 found that people who work with a financial advisor actually have more money in retirement. The example they gave was somebody that invested $500,000 and shared that it would have grown to $3.4 million over the course of 25 years when they had an advisor, as compared to only $1.69 million when it was self-managed. It's like 50% less. In the study, it showed that with an advisor, you did 8%, whereas without, you did 5%. I just want to make a note on this, that, the market over the long haul is done somewhere between 10 and 11%. The reason, in my opinion, that the people who had the advisor did better than those who managed it themselves is because you got to have discipline and confidence, especially when the market's going down. It's easy for us to say, oh, you got to stay invested or you have to buy at a discount. It's another thing when your portfolio drops by 50%, following through and actually doing it. And especially the closer you are to retirement, the more nervous it can make you. You got to be aware of that. Having a financial advisor can help in a lot of ways. Another one is tax planning. A lot of people are not qualified to really understand the intricacies of how tax planning, income planning, retirement planning all fit together. And that's where an advisor can also be really helpful if they have that expertise. So let's look at 4 different aspects that you need before you make a decision as far as hiring a financial advisor. So the first thing is you got to hire what you need. Do you need a money coach or do you need a financial advisor? I think the first question tied to this is, can you afford one? A financial plan is going to cost on average about $5,000 plus per year for financial, retirement, estate planning, and even tax planning. And then if you're having your assets managed, it's about 1%. Now, some advisors will tell you that they're going to do the financial planning along with the management of assets and that it's all included in one price. That's just not true. There is no way someone could afford to do financial planning at the level most people need it at the cost of managing the money. So you got to be aware of that, because I've seen situations where people are like, oh, they're not charging me for financial planning. And then I look at them like, well, that's because they're not doing financial planning. What ends up happening in that scenario oftentimes is you don't have a tax plan combined with your income plan tied to your retirement plan and your estate plan. So nothing is coordinated and it can be a disaster. So you got to pay attention to that. So if you need a financial advisor, it's because you need help in these following areas. One is creating a custom financial plan. The second is managing your money. The third is an insurance review or analysis. The fourth is a retirement and tax plan so that you can minimize your taxes and maximize your retirement savings. And then the fifth area would be to complete an estate plan. Now, you might have more issues, like if you have a business and things, but these are the core levels for an individual. If you need a money coach, you're going to need help more with managing your mindset and beliefs, removing money blocks, setting goals and manifesting more easily, shifting from a poverty conscious to an abundance mindset, possibly simplifying your budgeting, becoming more accountable. Now, unless the coach holds specific licenses and registrations, they cannot be giving investment, financial, or tax planning advice. In fact, it is a big problem, and it's going to become an even bigger problem when the market drops. A lot of people have gotten away with kind of bending these rules because A, they're not on the radar, they don't make enough money, but B, it's because people haven't lost money. And what I see sometimes with people who are not licensed or really qualified to be giving investment advice is they're just giving advice and they're not doing anything to hedge against a downturn in the market. And that can be disastrous, especially as you approach retirement if you don't have the time to make it up. Number two is understanding financial and technical expertise of the advisor. So the first thing you got to do is you got to determine if you want an advisor or money coach who actually has wealth. Now, wealth, as I am describing it, is basically your net worth, which is your assets minus your liabilities. A lot of times people will have a high income, meaning they earn a lot of money, but they've not accumulated that money. So you got to figure out if that matters to you. For me, if I'm wanting to become wealthy or I want to have enough money that I don't want to have to worry about it, I want the person advising me to have that experience. Some do, some don't. If you're hiring a money expert, you want to confirm that the person you're hiring is one. There are a lot of financial advisors and money coaches that are broke, and many don't have a lot of money. In fact, I became so fascinated with money coaches because I had never really been aware of them. And then when I found out about them, I did all this research and I found all these different money coaches and I went and researched each one. Do you know that 6 months after the article had been written, literally 50% of those money coaches were no longer in business? I was like, this is crazy. Now, I have run a mastermind for financial advisors for literally 17 years. And unfortunately, a lot of financial advisors just don't have a lot of money. In fact, one of the attorneys that came to me for a referral said, you just got to get me a financial advisor that's not broke. And I said, that's so funny that you know that. He goes, oh yeah, I've been working in this industry for a long time and then most of them are broke. So again, I don't think they have to be ultra wealthy, but if you want to accumulate a net worth of $1 to $5 million, it's probably important that the person you're hiring has that experience. So again, that's something to consider. And it's something a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of financial advisors don't have money. Technical expertise, where do you need help? Somebody that specializes in life or disability insurance probably is not going to be ideal to someone needing retirement income or to have their assets managed. An advisor with a specialty in retirement planning and tax planning probably isn't the best option for newlyweds who need an emergency reserve and some life insurance. So you got to get really clear on what you need and then take the time to find the right advisor. Is the advisor too young or too aggressive? If you're approaching retirement and they're really aggressive, it's probably not an ideal situation. I recently was looking at a portfolio for a couple who are approaching retirement, and their advisor is basically day trading. Now, not technically, it's more market timing, which is similar, but I was like, oh my gosh. And then there's no regard for taxes. They're trading so much that they're going to have short-term capital gains, which brings it into the ordinary income bracket. And I was like, this could be a disaster. So thankfully, they caught it early. They were able to rectify it and make different choice. That's why it's so critical to really understand the technical expertise of the advisor before you hire them. All right, number 3, you got to understand their roles and credentials. Most good advisors have credentials. They might be a CFP, which is a certified financial planner. They could be a CDFA, which is a certified divorce financial analyst, a CPA, which is a certified public accountant, an attorney, which is a JD, and even our advisors have an FTCA, which is a financial transition certified advisor. They specialize in helping people go through transitions. Our designation requires that a person has either a CFP, a CPA, a JD, or a CDFA. It's like an add-on credential. Advisors who can charge fees must be associated with an RIA, and they are required to be licensed. So be really aware of that. There are people that are out there giving advice, and sometimes they say they can get away with it because of the state. But I sat next to a gentleman on the plane who is in a state that's not regulated, and the Securities and Exchange Commission, FINRA, all of them have come after him because why? He makes so much money, and all he's doing is giving his own personal advice. But when you become under the radar and you're not licensed, it's a problem. Number 4, understanding how the advisor is going to be paid. There are several ways an advisor can be paid. One is fee only. This typically can include a fixed fee, a flat fee, an hourly fee, and or assets under management, meaning where they charge you a percentage to manage your money. A lot of people love this. I'm not as concerned about how the advisor is paid as I am about their reputation and their history. Like if they're earning commissions, are they a fiduciary? Are they really taking into account what you need versus how much money they make? Those are the things that concern me. There's then commissions. These people just are selling products such as mutual funds, insurance, and annuities, typically. Sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're not. So again, you've got to do your research. And then there's those that do a combo, which is the majority of advisors. They earn fees and commissions. I don't have an issue on how an advisor is paid, as I mentioned, but most fiduciaries are going to either charge a fee or a combination. I've always been a combination advisor because some of the insurance and annuity products that are commission-based, in my opinion, are better than the fee-based ones. That is changing. But what I also find with some of the commission-based ones that don't offer a fee-based one is that you can go into the commission-based one and pretty much earmark what you'd pay if you're paying a fee. So if the fee is 1%, you can do 1% in a commission one, and then the company's just paying the advisor as compared to you. So again, it can be effective. The key is that you just got to know how your advisor is charging, and you've got to be comfortable with it. I recommend that you confirm with your advisor that they will disclose commissions on the products they sell you so you know how they're paid. Some advisors will charge hourly to do work, say, for instance, like on insurance and annuities, and they earn a commission. And then what they do is if they earn the commission, they offset the fee. I personally like this approach because it, in my opinion, reduces the conflict of interest, meaning they're going to get paid and they're going to recommend what they think you should have, and they're not doing it just so they make a commission. Now, a key question to ask is, are they a fiduciary? This is someone who has to act in your best interest. Financial advisors who are fiduciaries must disclose conflicts of interest, and CFPs are fiduciaries. Registered investment advisors are fiduciaries. Hiring an advisor who is a fiduciary means that they are bound to make recommendations that are in your best interest. If your advisor is not a fiduciary, they can sell you one or two companies, even if they're not the most competitive or it's not in your best interest. That's what I don't like about non-fiduciaries. While a fiduciary may appear to be more expensive, many insurance or annuity products, when a person makes a commission, you don't know what they're earning. Having somebody that is legally required to act in your best interest, in my opinion, is critical. If you have questions and you're not sure what you need, I encourage you to access our support request. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/SR. Our support request is just basically where you can go and ask questions and you can actually talk to an advisor to determine what your next best step is. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/SR. We do a lot of income planning with annuities. And as you know, I love guaranteed income. I love annuities. We did one analysis. What was so fascinating to me was the fact of how often, like the wholesalers were like, well, you'll make more money with this product. It's like, okay, let's look at what is in the best interest of the client. And when we really started breaking it down, there were discrepancies of a person literally earning over $500 less per month from a product. And both of them were A-rated. Both of them were very good carriers. One of them paid more commission, one of them didn't. Somebody that has a fiduciary obligation would be required by their fiduciary responsibility to provide you the one where you make the most money, not where they do. Some tips. You can delegate your finances, but you can't abdicate your responsibility. Delegating your financial planning can be a great idea, but it can be a disaster if you ignore it. You know, one of the biggest cases I share, this woman, they think she had about 85 million. When I wrote my book, If Only I Had Known, I interviewed one of the financial advisors involved. And literally, she did not find out that her CPA was stealing money from her until the alma mater called and said, your $1 million check bounced. Now, this is the thing. That CPA had been her and her husband's CPA for 20 years. Total trust. But what happened is the husband who was paying attention died, and now it was a wife, and she wasn't. And it was just disastrous. And he had, oh my God, he had the $100,000 car, and this was several years ago. And what was really tragic about it, stole probably around 80 million. He only got 10 years in prison. And I thought, my gosh, I mean, you know dang well he probably had money hidden. Those are the things you got to be paying attention to. It happens just too often. You can't pick up a magazine without reading about somebody stealing money. So you've got to be really, really careful and paying attention. You want to conduct due diligence. You know, it's tempting to hire the first advisor you meet or your friend's brother, but taking time to vet and really make sure that the advisor you choose is the right one is so critical. I recommend you interview a few different advisors. You want to review your advisor's compliance record and then make sure they don't have any regulatory complaints. And if they do, make sure and read through them. You know, sometimes it may not be a real big deal. Other times it's really serious. So you've got to pay attention to that. And then number 3, take your time. If you feel rushed in making a decision or like you're being pressured, that's not a good sign. Take the time you need to make sure you are making the right decision for you and your family. You're going to be so glad you did. So there you have it. Let's recap on hiring a financial advisor. The first thing you ought to do is hire what you need. Do you need a money coach or a financial advisor? Do you need mindset help or do you need wealth accumulation support? 2, you got to understand the financial and technical expertise of the advisor. Do you want your advisor to have money or are you okay if they're broke? Got to know that. Do you expect them to be knowledgeable in retirement planning and tax planning and estate planning or in insurance and in budgeting? Number 3, understand their roles and credentials. What certifications do they have? Are they a fiduciary? You want to know that up front. And then understanding how they are paid. And again, specifically, are they a fiduciary? Do they have to act in your best interest? If somebody doesn't have to act in your best interest, I would be really concerned. So again, you got to pay attention to this. This is a great first step to really hiring the right advisor. So Kelly, I want to thank you so much for your question. These 4 tips are a great place to start. They're going to help you in looking at who you should hire, who would be the best person for your situation. I encourage you to go back and review these 4 tips and then proceed accordingly. So there you have it.